Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's mini lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you a really cute sounding fingerstyle piece that I wrote, which has a great mix of finger picking and strumming. So you get to work on the best of both worlds in this tune. Now, I would say that this piece is going to be a perfect challenge for the intermediate player because, well, you're switching between both playing styles, but you're also jumping around a lot. This song has quite a bit of movement up and down the neck, so it's going to be really challenging from that regard, but a great piece to work on for gaining comfort in navigating the fretboard. So let's take a step back. Let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this video, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play the entire piece, but if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for ML017. That's the lesson number for this lesson. Now also on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. This song does use a swung rhythmic fill, so if you're new to understanding the difference between playing with a straight fill versus a swung fill, you'll want to jump into this lesson. I'll also link it in the description box below. But without further ado, I'll hand it off to Matt and we'll jump into the lesson.
Hello, my name is Matt Dahlberg, and today we're going to be working on mini lesson 17 for the high G ukulele. I'm going to bring the camera down so we can dive right in on measure 1. Now, before we start on this tune, we need to take a look at the technique that I'm using to play it. Because there's a lot of strumming and picking intermixed, I like to use a technique called alternate picking. I'm going to zoom in super close. What this looks like is this. I'm going to be using my index and middle fingers on my playing hand. I'm going to be plucking the A string with my middle, then alternating to the index, and going kind of back and forth between them, being nice and perpendicular to the string, trying to get a good tone, just like finger picking. The reason I like to use this technique is because, again, as I mentioned, there's some strumming and picking involved. This can help give you a lot of speed while then being able to move to strumming. If you're more comfortable just using your thumb, that's okay, but it will be difficult to play really quickly without alternating between these fingers. But whatever works for you is awesome. With that in mind, let's go ahead and dive into measure 1. We're going to start here with our ring finger on the 7th fret of the A string and play that. Then index on 5 of the A, we can actually put it on before we need it, so we just take this finger off. Then 7 on the A with the ring finger. Then we're going to slide up to 10 on the A, increase the pressure just a little bit when you do the slide to help get a good tone. And then I'm going to play 7 on the A with my index finger here. Slide the index down to 5 and play that. Then do a hammer on with the ring finger to 7 on the A, making sure when you do the hammer on, you're nice and perpendicular to the string. That'll give you a good tone as you're hammering on. So measure 1 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the second measure here, we're going to take this index finger, move it all the way down to the 2nd fret of the A string, play that. Then we're going to take this index finger and slide it up to the 5th fret on the A string, adding our middle finger here to the 7th fret of the C string and our ring finger here to the 7th fret of the E string. Make sure that you turn your hand so that your fingernails here are all pointed towards your shoulder by your playing hand. That turning will help open up the fingers so that you can get this kind of awkward fingering. And then we're going to strum this using just your index finger there. We're going to go down, up. We're going to miss the strings going down again, not striking them. And then we're going to come up, then down, and up. So measure 2 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Really important as you're doing this that you get that 2 there with the index and slides up to the 5. Don't take that finger off as it goes. So now here's what the pair of measures sound like. Measures 1 and 2 should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 3 now. Pretty cool. Measure 3 should look familiar because it is exactly the same as measure 1. No variation whatsoever. So in time, measure 3 should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. What is different though is as we go into measure 4, it is not the same as measure 2 was. We're going to start here by playing 5 on the E string, but you got to play it a certain way. Take your index finger, bar it across the E and the A strings on the 5th fret, just like so. Pluck that E string, which is an A note all by itself. And then we're going to add this D chord around it. Middle finger goes to the 6th fret of the C string, and the ring finger goes up to the 7th fret of the G string. Same strum pattern as before. Down, up, down, up. Making sure that we miss the strings between those two ups. So it's this sort of down, up, miss, up, down, up. So measure 4 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 3 and 4 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 5 now. Measure 5 might look really familiar because measure 5 is exactly the same as measures 1 and 3 were. It's a repeating theme. It's the second measure that usually changes off of this. So in time, measure 4, exactly the same as 1 and 3 were, should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. But the difference here on measure 6 is before we went down to 2 or to 5, now we're going to go all the way up to 12 on the A. I like to just jump my ring finger up. So after it comes off the 7, I jump up to 12 and pluck that. And then right after I've plucked that note, I'm going to take my index finger and I'm going to slide it across to bar on the 12th fret of the C, E, and A. I'm going to strum all the way across that. And I'm going to do a down, up, down, up. Same exact pattern. Now I like to pluck this 12 with the ring finger and then bring my finger in over the 12. I find it's a little bit easier than if you try to start with the bar in mind. One little tip is when you're barring with this index finger here, it's okay to take your middle finger and stack it across the top of the index to get a little bit better connection. Nothing wrong with that. So measure 6 sounds like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 5 and 6 together should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 7 now, which is going to be the last two measures of melody A. We're going to be way up here on the fretboard. So we just finished playing 0, 12, 12, 12, right? So now we're going to play 14 on the A with the ring finger, then 12 on the A with the index finger, 14 on the A with the ring, slide all the way up to 17 on the A string, which is a pretty big slide. Increase that pressure a little bit. It's tough to get a good tone up here. And then we're going to move back down to 14. Play 12 on the A and do a hammer-on to 14 with the ring finger. If you're struggling to play this and get a good tone with that slide and that hammer-on, it's because you're so far up the fretboard. Ukulele is very difficult to get a good tone up here consistently. So what you need to keep in mind, you need to practice it slow to get it right, but it's not going to sound good slow. So trust the process, trust that as you practice it and as you speed it up, it will sound better. And you'll find that it will sound better when you get more comfortable playing it fast. So measure 7 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then going on to measure 8, we're going to play one of my favorite chords on the ukulele, a G chord, but not how you might usually play it. Take that index finger, bar it across the E and A strings on the 10th fret, pluck the 10 on the A. The reason why we're barring there is because the next thing we're going to do is strum a G chord, middle finger there to the 11th of the C string, making sure you get a nice articulation so it's not touching the E and A that are barred there with the index. We're going to do the same little strum pattern, down, up, down, up. So in time, measure 8 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and measures 7 and 8 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And from this point, we go on to melody B, but before we do that, let's go ahead and hear what melody A sounds like all the way through. Should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Pretty cool, right? From here, we go on to melody B. We're going to be marching down the fretboard a bit. So we just finished here, right? So we're going to play the 10 on the A string with our index finger. Then we're going to move down to 9, then down to 7, then down to 5. Then we're going to come back up to 7 using our ring finger, jump down to 2 with our index finger, and then open on the A. So a lot of moving down. Should sound something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 10, we're going to play the 2 on the A. Might be tempting to use your index finger because we just used it there. Don't do that. Use your middle finger here, because the next thing we're going to do is play a normal everyday G chord, 0, 2, 3, 2, with our index, ring, and middle fingers. We're going to do our same little strum pattern. Down, up, down, up. So that's why we want the middle finger there on measure 10. So 10 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 9 and 10 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you might have noticed when I played that for you, I used my pinky here on 10. That's because when I'm playing it in isolation, I'll use this really, effective fingering. But we're not playing it in isolation, right? We're playing it from that 0, 11, 10, 10. And that's why when I taught it, I used the index finger. So it's trying to find the balance of what works for you. If you like it using like that pinky finger, just note that you have to switch. Somewhere is going to be inefficient. It's a matter of finding what works best for you as you go through that. But anyways, from here we go on to measure 11. Now in measure 11, it's actually the same thing almost to what we played in measure 9. It's still going to go 10, 9, 7, 5, 7, 2. That's all the same. So the first 6 notes that you play, exactly the same. But the 7th note is going to be 5 on the A instead of open on the A. So you can kind of decide how you want to finger this. You can instead do it with the pinky here on 10, then 9 with the ring, index on 7, index on 5, ring on 7, index on 2, pinky on 5, and then open, getting ahead of myself to measure 12. But you can see that efficient fingering works wonderfully here because we started at this G chord on measure 10, and then we jump up to the 10 up here, right? Measure 10 ends here, goes up here. So we can use that alternate fingering. When we were playing it from measure 8 to 9, we were already up here, so it's a little bit more dicey, right? So it's finding what works for the situation. So again, measure 11 looks like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And when we go on to measure 12 here, we're going to be playing an open on the A string, and then we're going to be fretting a D chord. 2 different ways you can fret this chord. First way is using your index, middle, and ring fingers on 2 of the G, C, and E strings. I don't like this way, but it is the easier way. Easier until you get comfortable with this way. I like to use the index finger barred across the G, C, and E, using the sort of indent of the index finger there to go right on the E string, so that I can use that to bend off and have my A string open. This is the preferred way of doing it. And we're going to do the same down, up, down, up that we have been throughout this piece. So measure 12 in time is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Measures 11 and 12 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 13, we're going to play open on the A. 2 on the A with the index. Then 5 on the A, I like to use the pinky here and slide up to 7 on the A. A little bit of a tricky transition there. And then you're going to play 5 on the A string. And I like to use the middle finger there, kind of one finger per fret. Then 7 on the A with the pinky. And then slide up to 10 on the A. Now this is the most sort of efficient fingering with this. We're kind of keeping one finger per fret as much as we can. And it's giving you a good pinky workout. If this is too challenging because your pinky isn't very strong, mine's not very strong. I struggle with pinky stuff to this day. It's okay to use your ring finger instead there. So that would be open on the A, 2 on the A with the index, and then use your ring on 5, slide up to 7, and then you can use your index on 5, ring on 7, ring slides up to 10. It's okay to do this if it's easier for you, but I would work on the pinky to develop that muscle and to get more comfortable. So measure 13 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 14, we're going to play the 12 with the index bar here. Play that 12 on the A and then do our little down, up, down, up. So measure 14 in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 13 and 14 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. From here we go on to measure 15, and measure 15 may look pretty familiar because measure 15 is exactly the same as measure 7. So in time, measure 15 sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measure 16 is exactly the same as measure 8, which in time sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Which means measures 15 and 16 together in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now from here, we actually repeat and we go through the tune again, which can sound really nice. We go back to our melody A part. But before we talk about that, let's go ahead and hear what melody B sounds like in its entirety. So this is measures 9 through 16. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then we repeat, we go back through melody A, play measures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we go to the coda for the ending, which is going to be measures 17 and 18, and they're very simple to end the song. Measure 17, we do a down strum on the same G chord that we end on, the 0, 11, 10, 10. Then we're going to play 12 on the E string with the ring finger, and then 10 on the E string with the index, which is already part of that shape. And then we're going to take our middle finger, put it down to 10 on the C, play that, and slide it up to 11 on the C. And then just because the ending is one more note into measure 18, we just play open on the G. So 17 and 18, this nice little pair, sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And there you have it. There is mini lesson 17. Bringing the camera back up. Super fun piece to play to get comfortable with that alternate picking technique and doing some strumming in between. It's really difficult to get a good tone with some of those hammer-ons and slides moving up the neck. It's always okay with a tune like this, where the slides are being used for the most part as 2/8 notes, to articulate them individually. So you can play them once and then play the next one, ignoring the hammer-on or the slide or whatever else. It's okay to do that. But as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the next lesson here on Rock Class 101. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, so this week's mini lesson was a lot of fun. It's a really cute sounding piece. I may be biased because I wrote it, but I think it's a really cute sounding piece. And I love that you get to work on finger picking and strumming in it. Plus, you get to navigate the entire fretboard. So it's a good challenge in that regard as well. Now, I wanted to give you a friendly reminder that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for ML017. That's the lesson number for this lesson. Don't forget too, on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, I hope you enjoyed learning this tune, and we will catch you in the next lesson. Take care.